One thing to talk about prayer, and something that we do with optimal EFT and the unseen therapist, which is a kind of a unique take on it. Some even think it's going to revolutionize how we pray, but we will see about that. You may think that, and I hope you do. When most people pray, they tend to do it in a way that is sort of general. And as a result of that, they don't get immediate results. For example, somebody might say, "Dear God, give me a better relationship. My current relationship does not work. I want a better relationship," or "I want a new car," or "I want another job," or they tend to do things in a more general way. And when you pray that way, you're not likely to get an immediate result. "Dear God, I want a better relationship," and all of a sudden some new partner walks in the door, within 10 minutes, and there you are. Well, it doesn't really work that way. You may get a new relationship, you may not, okay? One may show up 6 months from now. I mean, it's not now you see it, now you don't. It's not instant result kind of thing, okay? As a result, prayer is sort of lost a little of its appeal to many people. Now, we're doing something a little different with prayer, and we're doing it in a way where we do get immediate or near immediate results. And that's because we're not praying for something general. And let me take the relationship idea for a moment. Instead of saying, "Dear God, give me a better relationship," we want to look at what's causing the relationships one has, to not be what you want, okay? And there can be lots of reasons for that, but we really need to look at why they don't have the relationships rather than just "give me another relationship." If you've just got another relationship and you haven't taken care of what caused within you the poor relationships in the past, you're probably going to repeat it in some fashion. So let me just use an example of how that might work and how a prayer might be more focused and hence get a better result. So, someone wants a better relationship. All right, so we counsel a little bit, we talk about them, we say, "Well, okay, you're not having good relationships, why might that be?" Well, I'm going to have to make some of this up just so you get the idea of it, but the person might say, "Well, I've had relationships in the past and they didn't work out, and it kind of hurts, when they don't work out, you get dumped or whatever the case may be." So when that occurs, we want to get some idea of, well, what relationship was it that worked out so bad? What are you replaying perhaps nowadays in a new relationship that is messing up, your future pursuits in that line? And so we get back to a specific event, a memory. We call it a specific event. It's an important term in optimal EFT, in the unseen therapist. And so we'll go back, and it turns out, well, okay, at age 13, this young man fell in love with another 13-year-old girl at school. Okay, madly in love, couldn't stop thinking about her. They dated and had romance and whatever at age 13 you do. And then she turns around and says, "Well, I don't know. I'm not so interested in this relationship anymore. See you later." She dumps him. And he takes it really hard. I mean, that really hurts. He has invested he thinks, his rest of his life in this monumental relationship. It meant everything to him. It completed him in his terms and so on. So the pain of that rejection just goes, wow. And he doesn't even want to date anybody for a while. And when he does date other people and he does pursue another relationship and it starts to get serious and he starts to really get into it, he remembers what happened at age 13 and the pain of that particular experience. He doesn't want to live that again, doesn't want to relive it. And so what can often happen is that as he gets into a new relationship, he starts to pushed it away himself. Subconsciously, little things that are said, little things that are done, little difference here, little difference there. And she begins to say, well, you know, he's not really into this himself, and so maybe she leaves, et cetera. But what he's trying to do is to avoid replaying this big pain he had at one point. And once you understand that's what's really at play, this is an example I'm giving, of course. There could be other examples. But once it's really understood, then we can go back to that example. We can go back to that specific event, and we can recreate that. And the way the process might work was, well, okay, go back there, imagine that, and tell me on a scale of 0 to 10, how intense do you get about that now when you relive that? You'll go back, oh, I mean, that's got to be a 9 or 10. You know, easily I can still feel my heart pounding, even though it's many years later. You know, I feel very anxious. My palms are starting to sweat. A variety of emotional reactions are showing up, physical as well. And so we bring in the unseen therapist for that, back to that time. And we have a way of doing that. She comes in, she brings love into the process, she brings understanding into the process. She understands, he gets the understanding he may have been going over the top a little bit. He can understand a lot of things in there. And he also understands that he's still replaying something that he need not replay, and it's costing him, okay? So all those things start to happen when you bring the unseen therapist in. It doesn't happen, over 3 hours of discussion. It can happen like that. All of a sudden, oh, I see it differently. Oh, I see, this kind of thing. And so then when we're all done with that, we go back to the client, to the young man, or the man who's now an adult and was 13. We say, now, go back to that age 13 thing after we've brought the unseen therapist in. And revisit that again, and tell me if you're still at this 9 or 10. And he goes back and he revisits that. And he goes, no, I'm having a hard time finding it. Maybe it's a 2. That could be a 0. I don't know. I just have a hard time finding it. Well, 5 or 10 minutes before this, he was a 9 or a 10. So here we have some obvious improvement, and it came about for what? I mean, nobody took any drugs, nobody did any massage, nobody did any surgery, nobody did anything other than bring in the unseen therapist on an emotional issue. And I'm not always convinced just because it happens like that it's going to be there permanently. So I make sure, the next day, the next week, this kind of thing, we go back and revisit it again, see if anything else comes up, If something else comes up, we've got a little more to work on, fine. Oftentimes it doesn't. And we're simply done with that. And now, what happened is that we did a prayer. I mean, this whole process with the unseen therapist is like a prayer. Dear unseen therapist, come in and help my specific event that's been causing me some problems. Now we got it more focused other than just give me a better relationship, okay? And now that we have done something with a cause for the poor relationships, the poor relationships can now unfold better. What's really important about that is we saw a near immediate result that we can measure. It isn't, dear God, give me a relationship, and maybe 6 months later, maybe never, or whatever, you get something. No, right now, you got something on this memory. It was a 9 or 10, now it's a 0, it's a 2, I can't find it. What is it? It's gone, okay? And it tends to stay gone. So you have an instant measurement of how well the unseen therapist did. Now that opens the door for prayer, because that all of a sudden that now gives you the ability to pray for other things properly with the right specificity, aiming at cause and so on, and get result after result after result after result, okay? Measure, 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 instant, or maybe not instant, but in a short period of time, and so on it goes. So when we learn how to pray, and to focus properly, and get to the real cause, now we're going to start taking prayer and get some real results out of it. And that's what we're into here. I think this is going to open the door. I don't know how open churches are to this kind of thing, but hopefully sooner or later churches will evolve around this. So we got a big panacea ahead of us.